I'm just gonna go. What kind of
I
happened?
remember on before we started, we thought it was going to be super easy.
To give an overview, was AJ like we decided to go on this trip for 10 days in Vietnam around the north end? North end?
North of Hanoi.
Well,
so up towards
we
China.
started off, Wes, if you remember, it was just going to be a 5-day venture for you and I. And then you decided we should make a 10-day venture, and then we had Andrew and Jared join us.
And then we basically went on that entire mission. So we flew in, we found an off-road company that did an off-road motorbiking that Andrew went on 2009.
2009, yeah, we did a similar loop, but on bitumen, and all the towns were significantly different as well.
And then we all landed in Hanoi and started there. We had a day or two in Hanoi.
This first day, we trekked out from the city pretty quickly and then got off the beaten track.
When we got on our bikes, the weather wasn't the best.
It was horrible.
It was
horrible.
We got big ponchos. I had a pretty good heavy-duty one. Andrew had flaky ones.
I remember my boots were full of water. Like when I'd stop and put my foot down, water would come out the top of my boots.
Not the last time either.
And then we must have been riding for a few hours all on bitumen, and then all of a sudden Swan just turned off.
Because we hadn't gone through, we basically just did a bit of off-road, but because of the rain, it was...
Yeah, because it was through the tea leaves, and we were just like, oh yeah, this is kind of nice. And then we just turned off onto another goat track, and it was all clay through the forest, and that's when we all had to start helping each other up the bikes, and we're like, okay, this is getting real.
Yeah.
I should bring up the stack record, shouldn't I?
We will bring that up.
I remember by the end of that day, I was getting pretty angry with Swan because I said, just get us out of these difficult situations and let us get home. But
Dad had a love-hate relationship with Swan every day, I reckon. Igor was the best mate, and then you're like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
Well, he was taking us on the track, though, because you can see here, he was taking us on, like, the back-end tracks of the bitumen right there. Like, we literally followed this entire highway that we could have gone on.
Yeah.
But we went pretty much all off-road there, and it was crazy good. But it was just wet as anything. It was just so muddy, so clayey. For the first day, we weren't as advanced as we wanted to be in dirt bike riding.
Oh, we had
relatively
no skills.
And we also, I think the big part, I think that was with frustration that we had with Swan at any point, was we had no idea what was coming up, and we're like, how much longer does this go for? And, when do we get home? And it was all very wishy-washy. When you get on that clay stuff, being there for 6 hours, we wouldn't have any idea. It could be 20 minutes.
Yeah, it could have been 20 minutes if it was dry, but it was like 3 hours.
Yeah, uphill clay, when your bike just doesn't want to stay in a straight line was a nightmare.
Where did we stay night one?
We stayed in this little town called, I'm not going to try to know how to pronounce any of this stuff, Ban Pho?
But that was a guest house, wasn't it?
Yeah, that hotel.
It was a 2-star hotel. And the hot water didn't exist.
Yeah, that's right. It was in the city. No, I'm pretty sure that was day one. Yeah, and that's when, because we were trying to dry all our stuff, and I had my boots hanging out near the AC unit and stuff.
Yeah, I started setting that up on the little rack, remember, Gaz? And in the aircon unit, and Andrew and then he saw what we were doing, and then we stacked all his stuff on there as well.
Dry it out.
To dry it all out.
We put everything upside down on the hat rack.
Yeah.
And then I woke up in the middle of the night and shit myself because I thought it was a person standing in the corner.
Yeah, that was the one. the end of the first day, even I was like, oh, what have I got the boys into? Like the first night, that was the lowest of the trip. We were all like, what the fuck?
We were all so exhausted from the first day. It was
Yeah.
just wet. It was gross. Being in that hotel, we were just like, what are we? All exhausted. And I remember eating and just going, I just can't even brain process anything.
Yeah, and I also remember thinking, like, this is the hotel, and Drew was like, yeah, the homestays are even worse by a long shot. And I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
It's
It was
changed.
probably the worst place we stayed on the whole
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah. Yeah. All the accommodation was so good.
Yeah, the homestays were sick. The homestays were way better than that.
Oh, mate.
They just bring back shivers for me.
Me trying to go up the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. But it's just this clay mud. So as soon as the back.
And then you're just down the hill and you're just stuck. And it's like, oh, I cannot get up now.
It's so slippery.
And we had to go very slowly the whole time. This is the second day.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it was because it was just all skill based. Like if we'd done that again on the last day, we would have
100%.
smashed it.
100%.
Yeah, Dad's bike was the best.
Look at that crappy bike. Oh, Jared!
There we go.
It's not happening.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, probably on the map where we are at this point. So we're probably here. We probably had lunch about there somewhere. Nigini Low. I don't know how to say that. So, remember we had these fish?
Yeah,
Yeah, they were nice.
oh good.
Like, they looked gross, but they were like the best thing. I think that was probably one of the best things I ate on that trip. Those little fish. They were like...
I don't know, man, that pork.
Yeah, pork. Anything fried. All their fried stuff was just awesome.
Oh, this is the first time we saw...
Yeah, view. And you're like, we've got to stop and take photos. And I think Swan in his head, obviously, he's like, this view sucks compared to what you're going to see.
We're basically driving for 2 days, and then he flew off on us. And then, like, I wanted to stop and take a photo because I kept seeing it. And then I was like, Swan, can we, like, take a photo at least? I want to see this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, going, oh, maybe we're just missing all this stuff. But I thought he was just cutting off stuff because we took so long on the wet.
Yeah. Yeah,
And he's like, oh, I don't want you to see the good stuff. And I'm like, no, that's the reason I'm here. I'm not going to all the crap not this.
Yeah, but in his head, he was like, you're going to see that every day for 10 days and there's going to be
Yeah,
sun.
right.
Yeah, it was crazy. The landscapes are just nuts.
So we've probably gone, I can't remember where we stayed here. I think this was our first homestay here.
It was two
The
hotels and a
second
homestay.
night was a homestay.
Oh, no. I know what happened on this night. So after that photo that you guys can you see my phone? We went into here. Remember
Yeah.
we had this homestay. We were doing these.
Karaoke.
That was a homestay with that little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this
Well,
was
that
the night
was
we
a
went
great
in and
meal,
sang
that.
karaoke with the mayor.
Yeah. And we saw these, which was sick. They were like all the lit up. It was like a dead town.
Yeah.
Never had that. It was so out of place.
And like all these, it was right on this like weird river, this town. And then this is when they were doing karaoke singing.
Yeah, and we were like, let's sit down. You're a bit anxious. You're like, well, do we have to pay for alcohol? What's going on? Like, there was just vodka going around to everybody and rice wine. And then at the end, we're like, all right, we're going to go pay up. And they're like, no. And
Yeah,
he
that
translated to me, he was like, it would dishonor us if you paid for anything here. Oh, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was so good. And then the next day it was all cloudy and we got to Tingo.
Supper.
That's supper.
That was the day that just didn't end, wasn't it? It was like
Yeah.
and it was raining, and then it was
Miserable
Oh.
going in there, trying
Yeah.
to close.
that was all of the roadworks. It was like, oh, roadworks, yeah.
It was never going to end. You never knew. It was a typical Swan. Just follow me. But is it for 10 minutes or 10 hours?
hit and miss with supper. It's meant to be amazing views, and we don't get to see anything. So the next day, after we did supper, we had a nice hotel stay, and we did all that. We went through, and the big highlight for that day, after going through the backtracks, we had nice weather this day. So
Yeah, this is where like all of it. You're like, even at supper, it was like, oh, you know, this isn't the best adventure. It's been a bit of a nightmare. But that once we came out of supper at about 10 o'clock or whatever, it was
cleared
just
up.
awesome. And from then on, it was the whole time. It was just.
And it was just dirt road. Finally, it wasn't mud road anywhere. We went to the Chinese border for the first time.
That's right.
Yeah. And then that's when we saw all these. We pulled into the town, and there was just all these trucks offloading to all these people, like random things with their suitcases.
Yeah.
Like you go to the actual bridge, and this is the border crossing, and all the people in there were just crossing. Yeah, it was just like
and they're going in and then straight back out the other side.
It's black suitcase after black suitcase smuggling goods in.
and it was just and it wasn't even smuggling good goods. It was just like lollies
and fireworks but Swan said they do put people in the suitcases if they need to. Like if you need to get smuggled across the border into China or vice versa, they put you in the case.
Right. Yeah, well, it was just back and forth with that. They were just going back and forth constantly with those suitcases, but they were just, it's cheap in China, and it's more, they had to pay tax in Vietnam or something like that, so to bring it all across was really cheap. And then we came into this town. This guy was feeding us rice wine the whole time. Really hardcore rice wine. And then, how many bottles did we go through? Like 4 or 5?
I kept bringing them out and then filling them up as well.
And they're all different flavours. And Swan was trying to keep up with us, drinking the rice wine, and he got... we weren't even really tipsy, and Swan was drunk. Like...
You threw up at that point?
And then Swan threw up at the end of the night, before he went to bed.
Wasn't even the end of the night.
I've got a video of him about to throw up.
Jared consoling him.
I was like, I don't want him to take us off a cliff tomorrow. I better be nice to the guide.
He was drunk. He was not in a good way the next day. He was very hungover. But we had a lot of fun, and we drank a lot that night. And the next day was the biggest ride, I think. It was mostly just back trail stuff. And we just had a good day of just slow riding, I think it was.
Have you heard about summer snow? When it falls on you, your blood runs cold. But don't you sweat your pretty skin, 'cause it melts away for it sinks in. And you dream about this very night, when the moon runs down the summer sky. Could it be the morning of the spring, when the sea runs dry and start to sing? Have you heard from the sky all about it? Down the river, high tide flows around it. Through the whispers of pines, I hear them sing. The more you love, the more you live.
Remember, this was still that tourist day where we saw that show, and it was like a military show right on the border of China, Vietnam, and they were like, "Fuck you, China." That was the whole show.
It was like the next 3 or 4 days we were going pretty close to the border, but that was the first night where we were pretty close.
Yeah, we could actually stay. We were staying right near the border, and you could supposedly they could hear it. You couldn't actually touch the border like we had a couple of times before that, but that was that.
No.
Show.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me see if I could show you the footage. Like the show was really weird. Like, remember how did all these like dance?
It was like a pop idol show where they were weird.
And the audio was so badly done. It was outrageous.
They had to everybody ended up
It was
putting
blasting.
Yeah, we have put
pulling
tissue
up
paper in our ears. Yeah, I put
In our
napkins
ears.
in my ears so I could bloody...
And then this is when we went down through and we came to our first down here at Bamboo Ferry raft.
Yeah.
That's where we did our
Yeah.
raft crossing, which was this.
Which was awesome.
So this is that we just popped out of
Yeah.
nowhere. All of a sudden we're on the water, and he's like, "Yeah, we got to catch this ferry." And the ferry was not even really a ferry; it was just wood.
Little baby on the back.
Yeah, he's doing it all with his own energy. Like that's his effort. He's pulling us all across with his own.
Just imagine that. Like, he doesn't have like a nappy bag or bloody water
He's just
bottle,
dipped
milk
in
bottle.
the,
He's just just him and the kids strapped to each other. That's it for the day.
Look at him, like his effort he's putting.
He's
in.
having to hold it so we can get on. Otherwise, the raft would have gone.
It's so cool.
That was awesome.
So then I think we did some really good riding that day. If you can see on the map here, this is that big windy loop thing now. That
Yeah.
whichever you guys want to share, where it was just like this the whole time in that photo. That was a sick ride. That was one of the best little strips of road we had going down there.
Yeah.
And there was another one over here as well. On the end of the 7th is when we did the Jurassic Park stuff.
Yes.
This is the first time we got like kind of freedom to go wherever we wanted. We didn't have to follow a trail. But it was the end of the day and it started getting really dark, and then we ended up
Getting stuck on the rocks.
the rocks.
Yeah.
And then, we got into the hotel. So we just and the guys like, park on the street, and Swan's like, no, I don't want to park on the street.
No. Swan said, "Let's park here," and then the hotel manager was like, "No, you got to park your bikes inside, or they'll get stolen."
We're all
Yeah.
just muddy and gross, and it was like the fanciest hotel we'd stayed in. We went across the road and we just got a bunch of beers because they didn't have beers in the hotel, and we got it from the supermarket, and we just drank beers in the foyer.
And then took all our clothes off and left them on the bikes and then just...
Oh yeah, they were covered in buffalo shit.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, they were covered.
Everything was
Yeah,
gross,
so we're like,
mate.
let's leave them down here. Let's not take them in our room.
And then this day, we went to the big waterfall, which was like the biggest tourist thing that we did. And that was the water that was dividing China and Vietnam. You jump on these little boats and then they take you all the way up to the waterfall. And we were just having a bit of time. To get all this cool drone footage, I'd let you guys go ahead of me, and then I would stay behind, fly the drone, get 4 of you on the bike, and then I'd follow you guys afterwards. And I knew, Swan was like, film here, this is the best place to film. And I was like, I don't think it is. He's like, it's going to be so good, because I couldn't see around the mountain. I knew I couldn't see around the mountain. I knew if I went around the mountain, I was going to lose disconnect with the drone. And then basically I started flying the drone, following you guys, and it just disconnected as it went over thing, but I was too low, and I saw that I was probably very close to the bushes, but because I didn't have any remote control access at the point, the drone just flew straight into the bush, and I lost it. And I was just fuming. I was just angry. I was like, I knew I shouldn't have flown here, and you shouldn't have droned. This is the worst thing. I basically flew the drone, and it was within the first 30 seconds that drone crashed. And then I started climbing through the bushes trying to find it, thinking I knew exactly where it was. It was connected, but I'd forgot that I could actually make noises from the drone if I needed to. By the time Swan had come back around, you guys had all come back around, I had these 3 locals there trying to talk to me, and I had no idea what they were saying. And those 3 guys, they finally just said, I was just like, I'm done. I was so pissed trying to find it. I knew exactly where I was very close to. And after an hour, all the locals were like, it's over here. And I'm like, it didn't crash over there. I know it didn't crash over there. And
About to leave, we were literally on the bikes, and this guy yelled out, he'd found it.
yeah, so this is what, and he shouted we found it, and we were all about to get on. And then he just popped out of the bush just here.
Yeah, and us just, it was the best. It was like the lowest of the low.
Wild, yeah.
And
And
then
then Joe
the
was
highest
just like,
of the high.
this guy. Found it.
Why it was the best because we'd lost it. We were so much in despair, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Yeah, just as we were about to leave, like, that was the crazy
Like we had
part.
bike, like I think Swan,
Yeah, we started
someone had started to pull away.
Yeah, I'd started mine. And then someone started shouting, so, whoa, stop.
And we found it. And literally found it. We were like where we were searching.
It was so crazy how thick that forest, like the jungle was, and just like mental, like just. Oh.
and there were guys up in there hunting around, and you would never know they were there. You could just start to realise how difficult the war would have been.
We had that big down, and then we had that big high, and basically from there, I think where were we at this point on the map? We lost the drone about here, I think it was. We were going here, and he was going to take us down to a waterfall down here, but we couldn't. And then we stayed in here. We basically did the ride the next day, and we were just riding through random stuff like we'd always done, just enjoying it. It was just a nice day. But the best thing is, halfway through to the end, we went through another open field.
Yeah, golf
But we
course.
found out that it was just a public golf course. That we basically, motorbikes were allowed to go tear up on the golf course.
Oh.
So don't hit us with the golf balls.
Yeah, sorry for ripping up your green.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And then finally Swan just kept driving us somewhere, and then we just ended up in a boat. And he's like, "Oh, we're going to go to the homestay on the boat," and we're like, didn't know what he meant.
At that point, we're like, sure, Swan, whatever, man. Like, we'll just see what
Yeah, we
happens.
were just like, we don't know what we're
Yeah.
doing. We're all delirious at this point.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
basically jumped on this boat, put our bikes on it, and then Swan cracked out like 12 beers or something.
12
And we
beers.
basically drove all the way up to our final homestay. Last day we didn't do much except
The ride back to Hanoi was like mostly just road and boring and shit tons of traffic.
it started raining. It was a bit wet, and we were like, "Oh, this is gonna be a shit day to get back to Hanoi." And we're riding. We're like, thinking this is all good. And Dad had a couple of stacks, which was just because of bike error. It wasn't his fault. And then Swan had flown off, and I was following right close behind him. And we come around to this corner, and I thought it was gonna be fine. It's a fine corner, and it's because of this shed here.
As a mechanic shop.
There's a mechanic shop, and he had let all his oil just slip down because Swan, our tour guide, had road tires, and we had dirt bike tires. As soon as we came around that corner, I fell off because I was the first one, slipped on that oil, and it just went and slipped straight down. Because you guys were all pretty close to me, you saw it, and you buckled your...
I managed to stop and then drop it. Like, I'd stopped and then...
Jared was right behind me, and he
Yeah.
fell off immediately because he just did the same thing I did. Slowed down around the corner, and then the oil slick just took his bike.
And I stood there and I watched Jared come flying off his bike, slid right past me, and then Dad did the exact same thing. And this is where I was like, oh, now we're all up for some damage repairs, and we're gonna probably pay a few hundred US when we get back. And it ended up being like $30, didn't it? Didn't we end up paying $30?
$20.
$20.
But basically, yeah. At the end, we just had a pretty wet ride all the way back to Hanoi, but we came through Hanoi and we were finally going through all the cars and everything. And we had way too much confidence on our bikes at this point. We were going like 120 over the bridge, standing up. And
standing up, just weaving through traffic.
6 lanes of traffic.
And then we just ended up back at our hotel. It was like all over. Yeah, and that was the trip. It was a pretty sick trip.
Yeah, it was awesome.
For 10 days. 10 days didn't seem like it went... It was crazy. It kind of went really quickly.
You're concentrating so much on the riding, it was absolute total relax in a lot of ways. And physically very difficult, but it was mentally really, really refreshing.
Didn't have time to process.
Cool, guys. Well, that was
awesome,
a lot of
lads.
fun. Had so much fun on that one.
Great memories.